Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at Guy Lafleur and different facets of his career this week in a recent podcast. But what I want to talk about today is the absolute connection he had with probably his most important fans. That was the children around the world, especially in Canada and the United States. Now, for a lot of young kids growing up in the 70s and 1980s, he was sort of their babysitter on Saturday night. The Montreal Canes game would be on about 8 o'clock Atlantic time, 7 o'clock in the majority of the rest of Canada. And they would watch the game. Either their parents were at the Legion or at a Saturday night party, or they would watch with their older brother or younger sister and dream of making the NHL. Now, when Guy Lafleur passed, there was a very interesting conversation with one of Guy's fans in Thurso. And he basically said, I grew up with Guy. And the guy said, what do you mean? Well, he said, when my parents were not doing so well, he said, Guy was always there for me. I could read about his stats, I could watch the games, I could cheer on the Habs. Now, he was never the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, but he was the spiritual captain of the Habs. Now, I started following his career pretty well when he scored his first 50th goal in 74-75. The first 3 seasons, I was still into the old Bellevue era because Cornway and the Pocket Rocket were already there. But when he started to gain favor and start winning those consecutive cups between 76 and 79, especially the big game 4 third period goal against the Flyers, that was his first game winner in the Stanley Cup, we knew there was going to be a total change. Just like Gordie Howe was big with the kids back in the day, and Dave Keon, Guy Lafleur again was marketed as well towards the kids. There was various promotions through NHL properties, various promotions through food companies that would select Guy as kind of the role model for children to draw people into the NHL. And for a lot of people, Guy was followed in a family by the kids first, and the parents followed along. And I tell you why. In a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf families, they obviously weren't Montreal Canes fans, but they were Guy Lafleur fans because Guy seemed to be and proved out to be a very approachable and loving person towards the most important fans of the games, that are the kids. Now, I saw how this worked in 2010 in Woodstock when I covered them for a Montreal Canes alumni game at the AYR Center in the Muncie town, and to see the reaction of 3 generations of children. The children under 15 that were there, the children ages 15 to 18, and the older kids who saw Lafleur in his golden era when they were children. Now they're bringing their kids and grandkids to the game. It was just amazing. Now, with all due respect, the idea for this column came from a very famous friend of mine, which I don't want to mention because he's very modest and he doesn't want too much publicity, and I don't seem to blame him because when you're kind of a regional celebrity, you don't want to make it about yourself. He like Guy has worked for the public for many years to celebrate the best of children. But he said to me the other day, he was a big fan of Bobby Orr and then Guy Lafleur because as a kid that was his heroes growing up. He said, I'm not the only one. And Guy's passing has really touched his heart like a lot of people. Be interesting to see what Bobby Orr would say about this whole situation. I'm not seeing much media, but the big 3 of that era, in my personal opinion, was Guy Lafleur, Bobby Orr, and Darryl Sittler. Sittler, for obvious reasons, what happened in 76 against the Czechs for the Canada Cup. Now, today we have musical stars and movie stars and stuff, but back in the day, and I kid you not, it's not as much now, but hockey stars were bigger than any Hollywood celebrity, and I kid you not. Guy Lafleur couldn't go anyplace, Darryl Sittler couldn't go anyplace, and later Gretzky and some of the Edmonton Oilers and some of the Rangers, they became larger than life. Now, being a celebrity, you have to reach out to all generations, and for some reason, after that 75 season where Lafleur came out of his shadow, took off the helmet, he became, like I said, the Pied Piper every child wanted to be Guy Lafleur, even though they weren't a fan of the Montreal Canadiens, because he was smooth, he was graceful, he seemed to dominate the ice, and he always scored a big goal. And it grew larger, I think, with the win against Jerry Cheevers in '78 with the overtime winner. That hit the next level, and then the next year the winner against Gilles Gilbert in Game 7 in the semifinal series. There was no stopping Lafleur, as we say. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our latest podcast before our coverage of the funeral tomorrow. We're going to give our impressions and thoughts about that. I'll be watching that and taking down notes, listen to that. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never heard of a child being saved by the Montreal Canadiens, the Sick Kids Hospital campaign in Quebec was gone on for a number of years. The Montreal Canadiens are involved with that. It's a great fit. The Children's Foundation throughout the years, and it hit its height around Guy's time. And another one that really stands out too, like what they call with the kids, was Kenny Dryden. But there was an obvious reasons, because Kenny Dryden seemed awkward in the net, and seemed everybody. You saw the way Ken Dryden played. Well, he said anybody can play net, because he wasn't the most skilled, but he was the most, what he called, dedicated to the position, which a lot of children caught on to. So imagine in the 1970s how many Guy Lafleurs were created just by watching that game. In the 80s, a lot of Gretzky's were created by watching Gretzky again on Hockey Night in Canada, the church of hockey in our nation. Thanks for listening. Bye.